iPhone and Android users, we have a free app. Download it today. AndrewHogue.com. This is Andrew Hogue for AndrewHogue.com, still Australia's first and only 24/7 metal radio station. And wow, I'm here talking to a drummer who's playing on his own festival. We're talking about Knotfest, which we are here in Australia. Welcome back to Australia, Mr. Jay Weinberg, and welcome to AndrewHogue.com, Knotfest 2023 Australia.
Yeah, man. No, thank you for having me. We're really excited to be here.
My pleasure. And again, having your own festival. I know others would say that's quite egoic, but if anything, it's incredible because the lineup's been awesome. It's good, it's diverse, and everyone's having a good time.
Yeah, man. I think Knotfest, the more and more we do it, the more and more we realize it's just an extension of this entire culture, which Slipknot is one part of, but everybody here is participating and pulling on the same rope, so to speak, So the fact that we're able to bring our friends and peers in other bands from the States with us, also to bring in, local talent like Parkway Drive and stuff is it's an incredible experience that, it's difficult for us to get here. We don't come down here nearly as much as we'd like. We love it down here. Australia is like another home for us. So the fact that after 7 long years of not being in Australia, the fact that we were able to come down and do it proper with our proper Knotfest, the big expanded version that we really like to do, and to do 3 nights of it, one in Melbourne, one in Sydney, one in Brisbane, is like, that's a total dream come true for us. And honestly, we're just really excited to be a part of it.
Now, I did a little bit of digging thanks to the Google Net Machine, and your dad took you to see Slipknot at Ozfest.
That's right.
And like I said, I know you probably hear this, you must be pinching yourself, but to think about that moment, watching them, and then now you're in them, and now you're playing your own festival with them. So are there days where you just go, yeah, how the hell did this happen?
Yeah, sure. I mean, to me, there are moments like that, but there are also moments where it's like, oh, this makes all the sense in the world, Like the first day we jammed together, we got together, played 20 songs, and then the guys were like, all right, you're in the band. That's it, and that's as complicated as it ever needed to be, Like we have a friendship that has been 22 years in the making. We met 22 years ago.
Wow.
And it was back then when we met when I was 10 years old. I was really encouraged by the fact that the guys never looked at me as like, oh, we're adults and you're this kid. It was that they saw this like deep psychological connection I had to the music that they were making, and even though I was really young, they knew that meant a lot and that we had something in common there. So then, I grew up and would be on tour and kind of doing my own thing. And then all of a sudden, life brought us together, and they remembered that understanding that we had. And that was why I think, they wanted to ask me to join their band. And because they knew it's like, okay, he gets it. Like, He's got it since he was a young kid. We know that, and he'll come in and he's our guy, and we haven't looked back since. So yeah, it simultaneously is a total trip because all of these experiences are amazing. Like being here at the first ever Knotfest Australia is an amazing opportunity that I do kind of pinch myself realizing, like, look at what we've done and created, and the 10 years I've been in the band, we've pushed it to this level is mind-blowing. And then also it's just like we kind of say, it's like, well, yeah, that, and you can't write that. That's just life, and you just gotta pursue all this stuff with dedication and ferocity, and you can make some cool stuff happen. So that's what we happen to be doing here today.
Well, again, just your upbringing with your father, Max.
Yeah.
So it's, as they say, it's in the blood.
I think so. Yeah, possibly. I've coming from a musical family with a father who's a drummer. I think the greatest gift he gave to me was just like my independence, in that he never put drumsticks in my hand, never
forced it on you,
told me what to do, because I think that would have made it like school or like a chore, like an after school chore that I would have to do or something like that. And it wasn't like that. He wanted me to gravitate towards it because I found my community. I found a sense of purpose with this music. And in all honesty, that all started when I found Slipknot when I was a young kid. It was the first heavy metal band I ever saw, ever heard, and it blew my mind completely wide open. And then I was very lucky that I had a very encouraging family who wanted, didn't try to discourage that, like, oh my God, what is he listening to?
Yeah.
It's the devil's music or whatever. No, they totally understood the artistry of it, the passion behind it, and they wanted to encourage that. And so they kind of left me to my own devices, and that led to opportunities. And then, you know, when I got asked to join Slipknot, they were like, oh, that's a no-brainer. Like, that's what you've been building yourself up to do, you know, this whole time without knowing it. But to have the connection with my father in that way, I kind of joke, it's like he didn't really have the ability to tell me not to be a drummer. You know, it'd be completely hypocritical. No, to have the support in that way. And, you know, my band's on tour right now, his band's on tour right now. We're living this kind of parallel drumming life. It's very, very cool.
Now, you're 3 albums in as being a drummer for the band, so you feel now that they've kind of, because I what I've noticed with the Slipknot music, especially the last few albums with you on it, like, there is your own stamp there, but the drum production still sounds like Slipknot's previous stuff from the past. So is that a purposeful thing that they do on the production, but they also allow you to be your own creative self?
I think it's more so just like the trust in our process and how they knew, you know, myself coming into it, that I would understand what that process would be. And I'll kind of explain that in the way of, like, as a fan of the band and the 4 records that preceded me joining, I always enjoyed that each record was a complete step in, like, a new direction, but as I digested it as a listener and studied all the little details of it, it always seemed to be this was the logical next progression for the band, you know. And whether that was from the second to the third album, incorporating a lot more melody and a lot more, you know, dynamic song structures instead of just like bludgeoning you over the head all the time, you know, and becoming and appealing to your own artistic dynamics as a person. I respected that as a fan coming in. And then so to go from, you know, the band going through a very heavy time and, you know, Paul's passing and figuring out how to continue not only just sonically but just like as people, like how to keep doing this. So I came into the band in a very precarious time where the art we were making, the music and the album that we made would reflect the intensity of the emotions and there was some very heavy emotional times in the studio as we were making an album that was a lot of a grieving process. And so I had to come in and have simultaneously respect for that, but also come in and knock the door down, because that's what this band is no matter what, we have to do it with complete intensity and complete focus on just destroying everything around us. So I know that about the band, but I had to kind of balance both of those in my head. But yeah, from a production and songwriting and crafting and just creative standpoint, I think that's just a massive amount of trust that we have between each other, and that they trusted me as the guy that they were bringing into their band. You know, like they had to know that they were making the right decision, in that we could hit the ground running. They wouldn't have to guide me by the hand and, hey, this is what our band is about. And, you know, teach me every day and stuff. Like, they knew that
you were capable.
Here's a guy we've known since he was 10 years old. He's gone off and done his own things, but now we're roping him into this and he'll get it and we can just hit the ground running. So from a creative standpoint, now we're 3 records later, where I feel like we've just gone deeper and deeper and deeper. I've been able to expand my contribution to what we do, and I'm very proud of that. But I think that all stems from a place of like deep trust that, you know, here's our guy, we're gonna trust him to be a part of this, and it's proven to be, you know, very creatively fruitful, I think.
Yeah, it certainly shows. Let's shift a little bit quickly onto your artwork, A Hollow Realm.
Yeah.
I've seen some of the footage of your recent debut exhibition.
Yeah.
Is this something that you've been wanting to do for a long time, and just sort of like, or at least a separate outlet to get creative away from music?
Yeah, I mean, you know, and it's no knock to any musical pursuits or what I do with Slipknot, but like the concept of being in a band is this like hyper collaborative, hyper, you know, you're in a setting where you are taking all these different inputs from all these different people and funneling it through the expression of the band. I wanted the yin to that yang in my life in a way. So when I would come home from a tour, and this long predates, you know, my joining Slipknot, I would feel like I'd come home from a tour and I'd just have a lot more creatively that I still wanted to get off my chest. and drumming just wasn't breaking through that barrier for me. I needed something more meditative, more just a slower way of like slowing down my life, where it's just me in front of a canvas putting globs of oil onto a thing, and it takes days, weeks, months, years, this body of work, a hollow realm that I felt like it came to a point of completion at some point early last year, where I felt comfortable, like, okay, I'm done with this body of work. It's 14 large scale oil paintings that took me 8 years to make. And that's 8 years also of, me being in Slipknot and traveling all over the world for large portions of my year. So it was what I was able to dedicate. I had obviously what I was dedicating myself to in the band, and still to this day, obviously, but I needed to, when I came home, do something that was totally selfish, a total selfish expression where I'm not collaborating. This is just me, and I really enjoyed that. I like the challenge of that because every brush strokes depends on me. And it isn't like with Slipknot, I can hide behind a shield of volume and intensity and my 8 other bandmates and stuff like that, and as we kind of just go on stage and just obliterate everything. This is like much more vulnerable and much more just a slower, more methodical way of expressing myself, and I'm really happy with it. Yeah, so it was awesome to be able to show the world also something that probably a lot of people just didn't even know that I did.
I was like, oh, this is pretty cool. So I checked it out. And
thank you.
I wish you well with all that. I know we're getting the wind up because you got to take the stage and rock with the maggots. So we can get you to choose one of your favorite tracks from the latest album, The End So Far.
I like the song Hive Mind.
Okay.
Yeah.
And one from the back catalogue before you joined the band where you just went, this is fucking sick.
Let's say People Equal Shit.
Okay.
That was probably the first song I saw the band play live.
And you were like, what the hell is this?
Yeah, that changed my life. Yeah.
Now you're out there dealing with the maggots. All right, Jay, it's been a pleasure.
Likewise. Thank you for having me.
Let's hear some Slipknot here on andrewhogue.com. Be well.
All right, you too.